Nothing went according to plan. The wedding was wrecked, the cake was smashed, and the guests were eyeing each other like suspects. The best man disappeared. The dress got stained with wine. A drone crashed into the reception hall 20 minutes before the ceremony. And the strangest part? No one seemed surprised. Standing there in the middle of it all, I started to realize. This wasn't bad luck. This was someone's plan. And I wasn't the groom. I was the target. I woke up to the sound of drilling. Not a metaphor. Not poetic. Actual, physical drilling, somewhere in the walls of the hotel suite they gave me. It was 6:11 a.m. The wedding wasn't until 2. I sat up in bed, already sweating. The AC was off. That was the first problem. Second problem, I had no idea where my best man was. My brother, Nate. He was supposed to crash on the couch next to the mini-fridge. I looked over. Empty. The blanket was folded. His phone was gone. I texted him, "Where'd you go?" No reply. No big deal, I told myself. Maybe he went to grab breakfast. I got in the shower. Hot water ran out in less than 3 minutes. Another small thing. Then the call came in from the Tux rental place. "Sorry sir, there's been a delivery mix-up. Your suit's in Atlanta. We're bringing a replacement, but the fit might be off." I asked them how this even happened. They blamed the system. Vendor error. Whatever. I had a backup suit in the car, a navy thing from last year. It would do. Not perfect, but close enough. Nobody cares what the groom wears anyway. When I went downstairs, the event coordinator was already pacing the lobby. Sarah. Nice woman. Efficient. She looked like she hadn't slept. "The lighting crew didn't show," she said. "And the generator isn't working. Power in the main hall's flickering. We're working on it." I nodded. "What do you need from me?" "Nothing," she said. "Just stay calm." I wanted to laugh. Stay calm. This was supposed to be the smooth part of the day. Just get dressed, smile for some pictures, say a few vows, kiss the girl, and shake hands until midnight. Instead, it felt like everything was off by a degree. Not wrong. Just, shifted. By 9 a.m., the florist called. Some of the arrangements had wilted overnight, someone left them in a van without AC. They were replacing half the centerpieces. "You probably won't notice," she said. Most of them were for the guest tables. Emma, my fiancée, hated when flowers were off. She was all about detail. She color-coded the RSVP list. Built a wedding website with a countdown and a dress code mood board. She would definitely notice. I didn't tell her about the flowers. She texted me around 9:30, "You up?" I wrote back, "Been up. Small chaos. Don't worry, it's fine." She replied with a heart. Then, "You ready for today?" I paused a second longer than I meant to. Then I wrote, "Yeah. Let's do this." Around 10:15, my mom called. She was at the airport. Her flight got delayed. Her voice cracked when she said it. "Don't worry, honey, I'll be there before the vows." I told her it was okay. After I hung up, I sat in the hotel lobby, tie still loose, and just watched people come and go. Bellboys. Photographers. A woman yelling about her room key. Some guy in a gray suit passed me twice in 10 minutes, each time pretending not to look. When Sarah came back, she said the power was holding for now. But the DJ's system glitched when he ran the first track, she added. "What happened?" He said the track slowed down. Like the timing was off. I raised an eyebrow. Corrupted file? Maybe. Or a power thing. The room was fine. The food was being plated. The staff was catching up. "You'll be good," she said. Then she checked her phone, frowned, and walked away mid-sentence. Another small thing. I texted Nate again. "You alive?" Nothing. I called. Straight to voicemail. At 11:40, Emma's maid of honor came by the suite. She was supposed to grab a backup pair of shoes Emma had left in my bag. She smiled too wide. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, totally," she said. She wasn't. Then I noticed the heels in her hand were the wrong color. Ivory, not pearl. I didn't say anything. She left in a hurry. I stood in the middle of the hotel room, surrounded by gift bags, empty coffee cups, rental ties, and silence. I looked at myself in the mirror. Something felt off. Not about the wedding. About everything around it. Not wrong enough to stop the day. Just wrong enough to make you wonder who set it all up in the first place. I kept telling myself Nate would show up. That he was probably just late, or maybe ran out for something. He's been like that since we were kids, solid guy, but always 5 steps behind on timing. Never missed anything important, though. Not once. At 12:10 p.m., I called him again. Voicemail. I sent a message, "Where the hell are you?" No response. At 12:30, Sarah told me guests had started arriving. The main room had lights, sound, flowers, everything in place, but still no sign of the best man. She asked if we should assign someone else to stand beside me at the altar. No, I said. He'll be here. But even saying it, I didn't believe it. My dad texted next, "Need help with anything?" I didn't answer. He was downstairs already, probably giving hotel staff grief over napkin colors. He was always better at hosting than listening. I looked out the window. Bright day. Warm, no wind. Good light for photos. Everything outside looked perfect. Inside, it felt like waiting for something to snap. I tried Emma again. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Hey," she said, soft. "Everything okay on your end?" "Yeah. Getting my hair done." "Why?" "Just wondering," I said. "Nate's MIA." She paused. "You think he's freaking out for you?" "No. This doesn't feel like that." "You want me to call him?" "No. It'll just make him think it's worse." "Okay." A beat of silence. Then, like a shift in her tone, "Do you still want this?" I blinked. "What?" "This day. All of it. Us." It hit me sideways. I wasn't expecting it. And I didn't know if it was a test, or if she really wanted to hear my answer. "I want you," I said. "Even if everything else goes to hell." She didn't say anything at first. Then, "That's a good answer." We hung up. But her voice stuck in my head. Not what she said, how she said it. Careful. Like someone measuring a step in the dark. I walked down to the reception area. Greeted a few early guests. Shook hands. Smiled. I could feel it, the polite tension. The kind where people act extra cheerful because they sense something's off and can't place it. At 1:10 p.m., Sarah handed me a copy of the revised ceremony schedule. Said the violinist had changed pieces last minute due to a string issue. Said the officiant would be arriving closer to 1:45. And then she asked, again, "Are you sure you don't want to go with a backup best man?" "No," I said. "If he doesn't walk in by 2, we'll improvise." She didn't argue. Just walked away like someone marking a checklist that kept changing under her pen. I went back to my room and sat on the edge of the bed. Nate wasn't just late, he was gone. And no one knew where or why. At 1:28, a hotel employee brought in a box addressed to me. No name. Just, "Groom," written in thick marker on top. "Left at the front desk an hour ago," he said. I opened it after the door closed. Inside, a flask. Not Nate's. A pair of cufflinks I didn't recognize. A folded piece of paper. I unfolded it. You really shouldn't go through with it. No signature. No explanation. Just that. My hands went cold. And for the first time all day, I stopped thinking about missing flowers or power outages. Something else was going on. And whoever sent that note didn't want to stop the wedding because it was falling apart. They wanted to stop it because someone was building it to fall. I kept the note in my pocket. Didn't tell anyone about it. Not Sarah, not my dad, not Emma. Especially not Emma. At that point, I wasn't even sure what it meant. Maybe it was a prank. A bad joke from one of Nate's friends. He'd pulled stunts like that in college, dramatic, unfunny, trying to get a laugh in the middle of tension. This felt different, but I wanted to believe that's all it was. At 1:45 p.m., the cake arrived. Or what was left of it. It came in through the side hallway, and I only noticed something was wrong because the bakery staff were whispering, moving slow, like they were afraid of being seen. One of them, a kid barely out of high school, was holding a smashed box with frosting leaking out the corner. Sarah looked like she was about to lose it. "Don't freak out," one of the bakers said. "The main layer's intact. We can fix the rest." "Fix it with what?" she snapped. "A spoon and a prayer." I stepped in before she went nuclear. Told her it didn't matter. "We're not a cake couple," I said. "People won't even notice." That was a lie. Emma spent 2 weeks choosing that cake. She did a tasting with me, then a second one without me. She picked the colors to match the invitations. She would notice. While they tried to rebuild the cake, I went back to my room. Still no sign of Nate. No texts. No calls. His location sharing was off. I called his girlfriend. She hadn't heard from him since yesterday. Said he was supposed to drive in this morning. I told her he never showed. She went quiet, then said, "You think something happened?" "I don't know," I said. "I hope not." I didn't tell her about the note. By 2:10, the photographer came to find me. Said we were behind schedule. Emma wanted to do first look photos. I told him I needed 5 minutes. As I was tying my shoes, the maid of honor burst into the room. "We have a problem," she said. "What now?" "It's Emma's dress," she said. "One of the guests spilled wine. Right down the back. Red. She's freaking out." "Why was there wine near the dress?" "She was taking pictures with her aunt." "Why were they drinking before the ceremony?" She didn't answer. I went to Emma's dressing room. Knocked gently. She didn't open the door. Her voice came through, sharp. "I don't want you to see it. I don't care about the dress." "I do." I waited outside. The maid of honor returned with a backup, some kind of shawl to cover the stain. Eventually, Emma came out. She looked beautiful. Pale, shaken, angry. But beautiful. "I can't believe this is happening," she said. "It's like everything is going wrong." "It's not everything," I told her. Then, halfway through the photos, the drone fell. We'd hired a guy to do drone footage of the venue. He'd been flying it above the ceremony setup while the guests gathered inside. Somehow it clipped a beam over the reception hall entrance and dropped straight into the aisle chairs. 2 were broken. 1 guest got scratched by a blade. The guy apologized. Said it was wind. But there was no wind. I didn't say anything. Just stared at the cracked drone casing on the floor. That made 3. 3 things that weren't just accidents. They were precise, inconvenient, and public. Things that shook the bride. Things that wasted time. Things that made people whisper. By now I'd started to understand a pattern. This wasn't one thing going wrong. This was everything going wrong, in sequence. And I wasn't sure who was setting it off. But they were doing it quietly. Cleanly. No explosions. No scenes. Just little failures. Until the whole day unraveled. After the drone crash, I pulled Sarah aside and asked if there was any record of who hired that drone operator. She flipped through her binder, one of those leather wedding planner types with tabs, highlighters, plastic sleeves. She frowned. "He was part of the photo package," she said. "Came with the venue deal." I asked if she'd vetted him. She didn't answer. The guy was gone by then. Said he had another gig across town. Left fast, no cleanup, just packed his gear and bolted. Emma was trying to keep her composure, but the guests were talking. It's hard to keep a celebration alive when the bride has a stained dress and the groom looks like he hasn't blinked in an hour. Nate still hadn't shown up. I texted him again, "Not funny anymore. Call me now." Nothing. Then I walked past the reception tent and saw one of the catering staff standing behind it, smoking. That shouldn't have bothered me. But this guy, he was wearing a server jacket that didn't match the rest. No logo. Different collar. And when he saw me, he didn't smile or nod. He just crushed the cigarette and walked the other way. I followed. Just far enough to see him get into a silver van and drive off without talking to anyone. I asked Sarah if all the catering staff were accounted for. "They checked in this morning," she said. "Why?" "No reason," I lied. Back inside, the violinist packed up earlier than planned. Said her hand was cramping. Nobody verified it. She just left. Her exit music was replaced by a Spotify playlist on someone's phone, hooked up to a speaker system with a short cable and worse volume. By then, the seating chart had been rearranged. Again, not something I was told about. I noticed when I walked past table 6 and saw my uncle, who hates crowds, sitting next to Emma's gym friend I'd never met. I looked around. Several of my guests weren't where they were supposed to be. Some weren't even there. I asked Sarah. She looked surprised. Checked her tablet. "That's odd," she said. "I had a different layout this morning." She showed me the chart. My name was there. Emma's family. Her co-workers. Her aunt from New Jersey. But several of my people were gone. Did someone submit a change? I asked. She scrolled. "The last edit came in yesterday evening." "From who?" She paused. "The email says Emma. But it doesn't look like her usual address." I didn't know what to say. It wasn't like Emma to micromanage without telling me. But it also wasn't like her to change things behind my back. She liked being in control, but she wasn't sneaky. At least, I didn't think she was. I found her outside taking pictures with her cousin. I asked her about the seating change. She blinked. "What change?" I told her. Her face didn't twitch. I didn't edit anything. You're sure? Yes. She didn't ask to see the email. She didn't ask who was removed. She just turned to the photographer and said, let's do the rest later, okay? We walked off to the side, away from the crowd. Do you think someone's trying to screw with us? I asked. She didn't say yes. But she didn't say no either. Then she said, maybe someone doesn't want this to happen. Someone like who? She looked past me, scanning the crowd. But she didn't answer. She just said, let's get through it. Then we'll deal with the rest. I nodded. But in the back of my mind, a different question started to form. What if it's not someone from the outside? What if someone on the inside was building the collapse? Piece by piece. Scene by scene. And I was just now catching up to the script. It was 4:20 p.m. ceremony scheduled for 5. People were being ushered into the main hall. The lights were finally working, the floral crew had finished their backup arrangements, and the playlist had settled into something passable. If you didn't know the disasters behind the scenes, you'd think the wedding was running smooth. But I knew. And then I saw the list. It happened by accident. Sarah left her binder on the bar counter while she went to argue with a bartender about serving early. I wasn't snooping, I just glanced. But the tab flipped open to a sheet marked Final Guest Seating, print copy. I read it without touching. Half the names on that list weren't familiar. Not in the way they should have been. No cousins from my dad's side. No high school friends I'd personally added. A few names that sounded like they belonged in a corporate boardroom, not at a wedding. Who are these people? I asked Sarah when she came back. She looked at the list. These are your guests. No, they're not. Where's Darren? My cousin from Denver. I think he declined. He RSVP'd. I confirmed it with him 2 days ago. She scrolled through her tablet again. It shows his spot was reassigned. By who? There was a pause. Change request came through on Thursday. Approved by Emma. I stared at her. Are you sure? That's what it says. I texted Darren. He replied in less than a minute. Still got the suit, man. Thought you changed your mind when the app said event was cancelled for my group. Whole table was dropped. I didn't say anything back. I walked outside, to the corner of the venue where the staff usually smoked, and called my brother's phone one more time. It rang. First time all day. Then voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I turned around, and saw someone standing across the lawn, near the back hedge. Suit, sunglasses, arms crossed. Not security. Not family. Just a guy standing like he didn't want to be noticed, but didn't care if he was. When he saw me looking, he walked away. At that point, I went back into the prep room and pulled the backup copy of the guest list I'd printed last week. Compared it line by line with the one in Sarah's binder. At least 12 substitutions. All mine. None Emma's. I went to find her. She was in the dressing room, having her makeup touched up. I asked for a minute. She looked at me in the mirror. You okay? No. I'm not. She waved the artist out. Closed the door. I told her about the guest list. The email. Darren. The fake RSVP changes. Her face was still. Not surprised. Not scared. I don't know anything about that, she said. Then why did it say it came from you? I don't know. I didn't change the list. Are you sure? Yes. I studied her face. Nothing gave her away. But something in her voice didn't match the words. I asked her one more time, is there something I need to know? She didn't blink. No. Then she reached for my hand and said, let's just finish today. We can talk tomorrow. And I nodded. Because I didn't have proof. Only doubt. But that doubt was growing. And it was starting to look a lot like the truth. 30 minutes before the ceremony, a hotel staff member came up to me in the hallway. Young guy. Nervous. Said someone left an envelope for me at the front desk. No return name, no room number. Inside the envelope, a photo. Me, sleeping. In my hotel bed. From that morning, whoever took it had been in my room. While I was there. No message this time. Just the photo. And a time written on the back. 4:55, 5 minutes before the ceremony. No explanation. No signature. The meaning was clear enough. I didn't tell Sarah. Didn't tell Emma. Didn't call the police, not yet. What was I going to say? Someone took a creepy photo of me but left no fingerprints and maybe rewrote the guest list while they were at it. No one would take it seriously. Not until something actually exploded. Instead, I went back to the suite, locked the door, and just stood there. I stared at the clock for 10 minutes. Then I put on my jacket. By 4:45, I was lined up at the side of the hall with the officiant, ready to walk in. Still no sign of Nate. No texts. No explanations. Just silence. I kept scanning the room, watching the guests as they settled into their seats. I saw unfamiliar faces, stiff suits, forced smiles. Some people weren't even looking at Emma as she walked in. They were watching me. A few with that look, flat, unreadable. Like people at a negotiation table, not a wedding. I felt it in my chest. Something was wrong with the entire guest list. I looked to Sarah. She gave me a thumbs up. I looked at Emma. She looked calm. Too calm. The music started. We walked to the front. Emma was behind me, walking down the aisle, bouquet in hand. Every part of it was beautiful, staged, choreographed. But none of it felt real. And just as she reached the front, the doors slammed open. A man staggered in. Dirty suit. Blood on his shirt. Limping. Holding a phone. It was Nate. He walked straight down the aisle, people gasping, half rising from their chairs. I stepped forward. What happened? He shoved the phone into my hand. Play it, he said. I looked at the screen. A video. Low light. Audio rough but clear enough. Emma's voice. Not sweet. Not nervous. Not the version she'd given me all year. She was talking to someone else. Calm. Measured. Once it's signed, everything's clean. We file the paperwork, we wait the grace period, and we walk away. A man replied, "You're sure he won't fight it?" Emma, he's exactly the kind of guy this works on. Always trying to fix things. Always looking for the good in people. He'll sign it, smile through it, and never see it coming. Then laughter. Hers. Someone else's. The video cut out. I stood there, holding the phone. Emma didn't move. Nate stepped back. Nobody said a word. And for the first time since that morning, I understood exactly what this day had been. Not a disaster. Not a coincidence. But a setup. And I was the one it was built for. No one moved for a full 10 seconds. Then a murmur rolled through the room, soft at first, then louder, like everyone was trying to figure out if what they just heard was real. Some people stood. A few got up and walked out, fast, like they wanted to be the first to say they saw it coming. Emma didn't say anything. She didn't cry. Didn't deny it. She just stood there, bouquet still in hand, lips tight like she'd been caught returning something broken to a store and couldn't find the receipt. I looked her in the eyes. "You used me." She opened her mouth like she might argue. Then she didn't. There was nothing to say. The officiant looked like he wanted to melt through the floor. Sarah was pale, flipping through her notes like the script might have a page for this. I walked out. Didn't run. Didn't yell. Just walked straight down the aisle, past guests who couldn't meet my eyes, through the hall, into the parking lot. Nate followed. "She never thought you'd see it," he said. "How long have you known?" "Since yesterday. They jumped me outside the hotel when I started asking questions about the guest list. Took my phone, roughed me up. I got out early this morning, borrowed a charger, found the backup video. You should have sent it sooner. I was unconscious." Fair enough. I asked him who else was involved. He said he didn't know. But he recognized one of the guys from the video, someone Emma used to date. Guy worked in real estate, bounced between jobs, had a reputation for manipulating people into deals with forged paperwork and quiet leverage. Green card marriages. Insurance fraud. Quiet paydays. That's when it clicked. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about me. It was about the marriage license. The name. The legal access. Get me to sign, let the clock run down, and disappear. Split the profit and vanish. I was just the mark. The safe one. The stable guy who didn't ask enough questions. Until I did. Back in the hotel, chaos was still unfolding. I didn't go back inside. I didn't need to. The guests could figure it out. Let them piece it together from whispers and half-heard lines. Let them tell their friends whatever version made them feel closest to the fire without getting burned. Emma didn't chase me. She knew she'd lost the part that mattered. And the rest of it? That was mine to handle now. The wedding was off. Word spread in minutes. By the time I got back to my room, the florist was already packing up. One of the catering guys offered me a plate of untouched appetizers like I might still want to celebrate something. I didn't respond. I spent an hour just sitting there. Staring at the phone. At the photo from that envelope. At the message on the back, 4:55. They weren't warning me. They were marking the moment it would have been done. Signed, filed, final. They expected I'd be broken. But that's the thing about being used, once you know, you get real clear. That night, I met with Nate and went over every detail he remembered. Faces, accents, the way they talked. He remembered more than I expected. The guy from the video, his name was Matt R. He used to work at a place called Clearpoint Legal Services, and Emma had met him, briefly, 2 years ago during a refinance. I pulled every thread I could find, and I found just enough to take a match to all of it. On Monday morning, I walked into a lawyer's office and filed a fraud alert on the marriage license. Then I contacted the Department of Homeland Security and flagged the entire situation, names, contacts, audio files, the video. I left out the part where I wanted revenge. They didn't need to know that. By Thursday, Emma's accounts were frozen. So were Matt's. A week later, their partners, the silent investors who'd been using marriages like mine as legal entry points for asset movement, started getting visits from agencies they'd only ever bribed before. I didn't show up to any hearings. I didn't need to. My job was done in the background. But I did one last thing. I sent a package. It went to every major wedding vendor we'd worked with, planners, photographers, caterers, musicians. Inside, a simple letter. If these names show up again, and you don't ask questions, you're part of the problem. Attached was the recording. A few days later, I got a call from Sarah. She didn't say much. Just, I should have listened. I'm sorry. That was enough. Emma never contacted me. Matt didn't either. But I heard through someone that she tried to apply for a new marriage license 3 weeks later, and got denied. Guess her name's not clean anymore. I moved out of the city. Quiet town, better air, less noise. Started working with a small logistics firm, nothing shady, just real routes and honest numbers. Every so often I get invited to weddings. I go sometimes. I don't drink at them. I don't make speeches. But I always check the guest list. Twice.